Well, that Bills fans, that is a disaster. Unfortunately, for the last few weeks, the Bills have been living and dying by their injury report, and it shows when Spencer Brown is not on the field, the offense is in trouble. And apparently, when Starla Tulele and Tremaine Edmonds are not on the field, the defense forgets how to play. Hi, I'm back after a break. There's been a lot going on in the terms of sports, but because I'm just doing this as a supplement to the 716 Sports podcast, they get the first dibs on anything going on with the Bills. But with Justen playing in the 11-day power play, I figure I'm going to go and just talk about this now, put it out there, and when we get back, possibly the week after, the Monday after Thanksgiving, then we can, as a full group, discuss it. Right now, the Sabres are currently about to face off against the New York Rangers, and the Buffalo Beauts are about to face off with the Metropolitan Riveters. Just quick note on the Sabres. They're doing a little bit better than I expected at this point. I didn't expect them to be 500 points wise, and they've 16 points in 16 games. The Beauts have started their season 1-1 with an overtime win and an overtime loss. Unfortunately, I have not gotten to see the Beauts games yet because of the ESPN Plus deal. I am not subscribed to ESPN Plus. I'm not interested in having a billion subscription services, which is why I loved the Twitch deal, because I could watch any now PHF games. Last year was NWHL, but this year it's PHF, Premier Hockey Federation. And I loved it because I would be able to watch any games I wanted, but now it's going to be hard because only certain select games are going to be on Twitch. And therefore that's kind of slowing that down. But I would like to talk about the Buffalo Bills. I'll also talk about the Jack Eichel deal a little bit later and my thoughts on it as after I'm done with the Bills. But I am literally recording this right after the Bills game ended, after the 45-15 loss to the Indianapolis Colts, dropping the Bills to 6-4, second in the AFC East, a half game behind the New England Patriots, who currently sit at 7-4. My thoughts on this game are, I'm aggravated. I really am. This team has lost two out of the last. The Bills have lost two out of their last three games, three out of their last four. If you go back to before the bye week, the only good team in that stretch they have played is Tennessee. I don't think Indianapolis is a good team. I think Indianapolis suffers from the same issue the Bills do, is that they can be kind of Jekyll and Hyde-ish, and that's basically what the Bills have been doing the last few weeks. The big problem to me for the Bills is the fact that they seem to not be able to play without Spencer Brown in the lineup. All the juggling does not seem to be doing them any good, and they don't seem to have any single substitution pieces or packages or anything that they can just put in where they're replacing somebody for Spencer Brown. They're making double moves because they're moving Daryl Williams to tackle. They need to put Ike Butker in at guard, Cody Ford in at guard, and I really don't think that this is working out well for them. When the best lineup combination on the offensive line, when the best guard combination has been Feliciano and Williams. That being said, I'm going to maintain that I think my concern level for this team is going to be based on the injury report every week. Any time that Brown is going to be out of the lineup, I am going to be worried. I'm going to be worried at least one guard position until Feliciano comes back, so you get your starting lineup back being Dawkins, Feliciano, Morris, Williams, and Spencer Brown. I think they picked it up a little bit, not much, but a little bit, because they have Dawson Knox back, so the offense is getting a little bit of help there. And I think Matt Breida needs to get a serious look going into the future to aid this running game, because right now he seems to be the best running back on this team. Matt Breida, who most games is not suited up, seems to be the best running back the Bills have right now. He's the one that can take it to the outside. He's the one who seems to have the most speed, the one that can get the most. with what little the Bills blocking the Bills have been able to show lately. So I think going forward, you need to maybe look at Breida being the number 1 AB back with, I'm guessing, Singletary. Moss is a good power back. I like him. I like him trying to get the short yardage, but with the way the Bills' offensive line is right now, I don't think that he is the one that will help them very much. Unless you plan on using him as more of a bulldozer power back to get a couple hard yards, I don't think you're really going to get enough out of Moss to warrant playing him very much. So I think it needs to be Singletary and Breida as the two faster, more elusive backs, with Moss being the change of pace back. I think Dawson Knox coming back in the lineup has been a good thing. It's been a stabilization at tight end more than you would think after his first few years in the league. And this is nothing against Tommy Sweeney, but I think Dawson Knox is the more explosive tight end. He comes out, he makes the bigger plays. He had a couple drops this game. Typical Bills weather issues. Again, if you go back to last year and the last couple years, they have had issues in the weather. It was rainy, it was windy. The Bills' defense. This is probably the worst performance I've seen out of them all year. I think Tennessee was not a great performance. Tennessee was that Tennessee 34-31 loss down in Nashville. Definitely not a great performance, but I think this one, no matter what the score was, I think this one was by far worse. I think this one was definitely worse. I'm going to take away the probably, and I'm going to say it is definitely worse. Don't get me wrong, Jonathan Taylor is a good back. I don't think he's 200 yards against a good team good. But the Bills, again, another issue with missing key people. Last year, it showed the Bills trying to stop the run. Star Lotulelei not being in the lineup was a big deal, because then you had that big guy in the middle that would normally eat blocks not there. That's kind of a problem when you're counting on a guy like that to free up your linebackers, not there to free up your linebackers. If you got a guy taking double teams, that frees somebody up. It gives somebody room to run. With him not there, they don't seem to have that. It also doesn't help that Justin Zimmer is out for the rest of the season with an injury, which, while he's not the most skilled player, he is definitely a high motor player who you notice on every play he's in. He's always near the ball. He's always aggressive, but he very rarely is seen taking the wrong play, getting beat, making a bad play, or making a stupid play. He is the one, after all, who forced the Cam Newton fumble last year when the Patriots came to Buffalo, and the Bills won that game. But I think Lotulelei and Edmonds, I think Edmonds is a really big loss. Edmonds being the middle linebacker, well, what's designated as the middle linebacker, even though the Bills' base defense is a nickel, a 4-2 nickel. That group, that pairing of Milano and Edmonds is a really good pairing. They're a really strong pairing, and they each have their strengths. But I think Edmonds reads the plays better and is more versatile. I think A.J. Klein is really good at getting downhill and getting downfield, but the problem is if you get somebody that's shifty and fast, A.J. Klein is not the guy you want in there. And that's the problem that they're running into with Klein playing in Edmonds' spot, is they need Edmonds in there. They need an Edmonds type in that position, so that way they have somebody that can contain a runner like Taylor. So, I mean, right now the Bills are living and dying by their injury report. Four starters out, and this team looks like they're falling apart. So that's why I say that I'm concerned. My concern with how the Bills are going to play is 100% based on their injury report instead of anything else. Problem with that is no good team should be subject to how being good or bad based on their injury report. This better signal to Brandon Beane, GM Brandon Beane, that they need to go out and get some offensive line depth this offseason. You have some good pieces there. I would like to see new guards in the lineup. I'm not really thrilled with the group of guards that they throw in. I'm not thrilled with Butker. I'm not really thrilled with Cody Ford either, because he hasn't really been showing much this season. Darrell Williams has been fine at guard. Hasn't been great at tackle, but he's decent enough at guard that it's effective. And you really need, if Feliciano is going to be out any extended period of time, or you're going to have to go to a backup group, you need somebody you can count on, and Cody Ford and Ike Butker are not those guys. Sorry to say, they are not. So, another frustrating loss puts the Bills at 6-4, second in the AFC East for the first time in quite a while. It's really been a while. I didn't even look to see the last time the Bills were in second place in the AFC East. But I would not be surprised if it was week 1 this season. But after any extended point in the season, I would not be surprised if it was since the end of the 2019 season, when the Bills finished second and made the playoffs and then proceeded to lose to Houston in the wild card round. But it's an uphill battle for the Bills. They've got New Orleans coming up at New Orleans at the Superdome, coming up on Thanksgiving night. It's not a good matchup. I don't think that's a good matchup for the Bills. It's going to be even worse if Edmonds isn't playing, because of the fact that Alvin Kamara is a beast. And the Saints are I think the Saints are a really good team. I just don't see the consistency that they had with Drew Brees in the lineup. But the Saints are a good team, and they're capable of doing a lot. And Alvin Kamara is capable of taking over a game on his own, both running and receiving. So he's going to be a big issue on a short week. Again, Spencer Brown is likely to be out this week. He was on the COVID inactive list. And I believe it has been reported that he is not vaccinated. So he will be, if that is the case, I believe he will be out Thursday. I think that is what I heard. I am not 100% sure of that. Sometimes my memory is just not good, but especially if I hear things. If I read things, I'm more likely to remember, but I think I heard that he was going to be out if he's not vaccinated this week. So, again, that's going to be another situation where you are going to have a shuffled offensive line against a team that is as a good team. Saints are the second. I'd say the Saints are the second team in the AFC and the NFC South. And then they have to go and play Tampa and New England. I may have the order wrong, but they have Tampa and New England coming up as well. Tampa's a good team. We know what Tampa is. We all know what Tampa is. Tampa is good. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with them last year. There's no denying that and they have weapons. Tampa is what Kansas City is on a good day. New England, I'm not sure about. I will be honest, 100% honest, I am not sure about New England. I don't have feelings about them either way. I sometimes feel like they may be overrated. They may not be. I don't know. I just can't get a great feel for them. But the Bills need to come up, and they need to get a couple wins. They need to literally steal a few wins, and not just the Jets game. If the only one out of the next 4 games that they win is the Jets game, there's a problem. There's a huge problem. But the Bills right now are just frustrating and living and dying based on who's on their injury report, so this is not going to be good. Again, could have had a discussion about the fact the Sabres are a 500 team right now. That could have been big news if the Bills were rolling along, doing what they should be doing, being 8-2 like they really should be, instead of playing down to teams and being 6-4, being 8-2 and 2 games up in the division. It's just frustrating. The other big news lately, and we did cover this somewhat on the podcast, our last time we recorded on the podcast a few weeks ago, was the Jack Eichel trade. The Jack Eichel saga officially is over in Buffalo, and honestly, I do hope he has a good career, a good, successful, solid career for however long he's playing. I have no ill will toward him. I'm not one of those that believed he was a locker room cancer. I believe he's one of the passionate players that was really frustrated with the losing culture, and he wanted to win, but he wanted to win in whatever circumstance he could win in. I believe he wanted to be a part of the solution in Buffalo, but if he wasn't going to be able to be a part of the solution in Buffalo, be part of somebody's attempt to win somewhere else. So I think no matter where he ended up, he wanted to win no matter which team he was with. I'm not going to say that, Jack wanted out, definitively wanted out of here, unless I happen to hear something that definitively says that. So, looking at the return for Jack Eichel, we're going to put aside the draft picks, because that is not relevant at this moment. One of the things we discussed on the podcast was the return, and how does the return look? I think the return that they got is a little short of what they really should have gotten. What they had done was let Eichel have his selected surgery, let him have the disc replacement surgery instead of the spinal cord fusion, let him have the disc replacement, come back, prove he's healthy, and then make a move. I think the return had the potential to be better. But if he was injured and he wasn't going to return to form, at least you would have a chance to get a good return off of him instead of just potentially selling really low. Let's talk about the two knowns we have here. First, we have Alex Tuch, who's a pretty decent player. He's a good, solid piece. He has some experience with winning. He was with Vegas the last few years. I believe he's an original Vegas Golden Knight, and he was playing a little bit before that, but Vegas has been good their 3 seasons in the league, so he has that knowledge on how to win. It's a good piece. He's a solid player. I'm now going off memory a few weeks, but I believe he's about a 20-goal scorer, which the Sabres desperately need at this point. So I think he's a good, solid piece. I think he'd be a good piece to build around too. I believe he's 25 years old, so that's a positive. The only thing is he is coming off a shoulder injury. He should be back in the lineup in January. But I think once he is in the lineup, he'll be a good piece to build around, and I think that he'll be beneficial to the Sabres. The other piece is Peyton Krebs, a young 20-year-old center who's only had 13 NHL games and has 1 assist. But the thing is, he is a center. He's not Jack Eichel center. He's not a generational center. I don't even know if he's going to be a first-line center, but maybe he'll give them some center depth. Maybe he'll slot in behind Middlestat and, say, Cousins at center. I don't know what the Sabres' plan is. They don't really seem to have much of a plan at center, so that's kind of rough to say, but they really don't seem to have a plan. But maybe he can slot in there, and maybe he can be another solid contributory piece in a position where the Sabres are lacking depth right now, because the Sabres are lacking depth at center. Another thing we've discussed at length on the podcast about the Sabres losing faceoffs and how sustainable that is in a winning season, when you're constantly chasing possession of the puck off the faceoff circle. But it'd be interesting to see what both of them bring. Krebs was sent to Rochester upon the trade, which I think is a good move because he is young. He is only 20 years old. He needs to develop some. I don't think there's any rush to put him into a situation where he's not going to not making an immediate impact, and 2, where this team is not exactly ready to win now and make a playoff run now. So I think they're handling him well. I think they're going to let Tuch recover fully from his injury. And I think at that point is when the rebuild starts. And I think when Tuch comes into the lineup is when you're really going to start the most on this rebuild and see where the team goes. He's not a generational player. He's not the franchise player, but I think he's a solid enough piece. You need to see what you have with him that, I hate to say it, but maybe you flip him. Maybe he comes back. Maybe you try to get it. Maybe Kevin Adams decides maybe we need a few more pieces and you can get something. Maybe you can get a good prospect for him. Maybe not a top-notch prospect, but maybe somebody that was decent prospect. I don't know. We'll have to see when he comes back. But it really definitely puts a interesting look on what the the Sabres are going to do at the trade deadline. The Bills did nothing at the trade deadline, which should have been expected because of the fact that their main positions of need are offensive line, and it's hard to bring offensive linemen in midseason. But the Sabres at the trade deadline have an interesting choice. Could they like the direction they're going? Could they be around 500, like the direction they're going, and decide, hey, we're going to take a chance with what we have. We're not going to sell, or sell minimally to get things back for the future. So that's a possibility, and I think that is the most likely possibility. This team under Don Granato has not been world beaters, but they've been a lot better than what they were under Ralph Kruger. And Sabres games are a lot more fun to watch now, with the exception of the stinkers they've had lately, like 5-0 against Calgary, which thankfully I was not home for. I'll admit I was not home for that, but anyway, glad the Eichel saga is over. I wish Jack a very successful career moving forward, and I just wish that the Sabres had gone a little bit in a different direction and gone with proving Jack's health, but at least they got something in return that, under the circumstances, I'm going to say is good, but I think could have been better. But that's all I've got. As I'm recording this, the Sabres and the Buttes are both playing. The Buffalo Bandits will be starting their season on December 4th. Bills are on a slide. Lost 3 of their last 4, 2 of the last 3 out of the bye week. And unfortunately, I do not have an hour to go over all the teams, because that would then put UB, both football, hockey, UB basketball started, men's and women's basketball just started up. Canisius hockey especially. 716 Sports podcast partner Jeff Boyd does play-by-play for the Canisius Golden Griffins. Yeah, there's just a lot going on here, but the big news is definitely the Bills slide. And I just wanted to, I guess, basically vent. Throw out what I see, but basically just vent about this whole situation. I think that the situation's not the greatest right now. But that is all I have for today. Sorry about going on, maybe rambling, but it's been frustrating. It's frustrating to watch a team that's supposed to be Super Bowl contenders, has the starters to be Super Bowl winners. If you take the Bills' 22 starters, they should be a Super Bowl winning team. Yep, I'm pausing so that sinks in. I believe the Bills' 22 starters, regular 22 starters, are a Super Bowl winning team. I think that ceiling drops drastically once you start putting backups in other positions. And we're seeing it. But like I said, I'm going to worry about the Bills based on their weekly injury report. So when their injury report for Thursday's game comes up, I'll start thinking about that time. How do I feel about where the Bills are? And what do they need to do? How do I feel about their playoff chances, especially if they lose to New Orleans? But that's all I've got for today. If you'd like to, hit the like, subscribe, share this. Help me grow. Help me. Right now I'm still recording on a 8-year-old MacBook on OBS, so I'm basically having to one take this whole thing. So hopefully soon I can get together the funds to upgrade the computer, get video editing software, so make this a little more cohesive. But like, subscribe, help me grow, share. You can find me on Twitter at MikeyChaos716, like it says right above my head. I'm going to start streaming on Twitch, maybe. Playing games. Talk basically anything, but my favorite thing to talk about is sports, but there's a lot I'd like to talk about, just even talk about games. You can check me out playing Forza Horizon 5. And my gamer tag on Xbox is Chaos, Kaos, X29. And you can catch me there occasionally on Twitch, so feel free to check me out there. I'll usually be playing Dirt 5, Forza Horizon 5, maybe Madden 21, the MLB The Show. There's a lot of games I could be playing, so just check it out. All right? I will talk to you next time. Bye.